Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us for the fourth installment of Diablo Magazine's Dig In Comfort Food series, where we spotlight local feel-good food. We thought we'd switch it up a little bit and give a little exterior view, get a little outdoor excitement, just because it's such a beautiful, beautiful day. And we're at Saltcraft in Pleasanton. This is the restaurant of East Bay chef Matt Greco, and today we're going to be doing a lamb pastrami sandwich with Matt. He's kind of an expert. He makes everything in house. I think you're going to love it. Let's see. This is my name's. I'm not sure if I said I'm Ethan Fletcher. I'm the food editor with Diablo Magazine. This is sort of in conjunction with our November food issue. We did a big story on comfort food, which has sort of made a big comeback during the pandemic. And one of the stories I wrote about was sandwiches. A lot of people, especially high-end restaurants, are kind of pivoting to sandwiches because it's easy, portable, feel-good food, and I thought Matt would be a great person to talk to about that. I'd just like to get a couple things out of the way. Special thank you to Xfinity, our Dig In series sponsor. We will be sending a link to this video out to all the subscribers and viewers. And we will have, let me turn it on, a chat function. So if you want to have any questions from Matt or myself during the video, type away, and I will do my best to get to it. All right, well, let's go in. This is a really cool spot. It was actually a former house. Matt can talk more about that. And here we go. Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
All right, this is it. This is Saltcraft, right? I'm gonna bring you around and sit you down. So welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So you know, one of the first things that struck me is what an interesting location this is. And that building, it looks like a house, but it's not. It's a restaurant. Can you tell me a little bit about how you kind of found it?
Yeah, so you know, when you're a first-time restaurant operator, you know, a lot of times you're looking at maybe not the typical space. So yeah, it was the house that the owners at the time wanted to convert into a cafe. So yeah, the first look at this space was there was a front yard. You know, we're actually standing in the living room right now.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, bedroom was over there. There's the kitchen right here, over here. Yeah, and I think that we looked at it, and for me, I just I love those kind of diamonds in the rough,
Yeah,
and I just saw a lot of potential, and I thought this could be a great little space, and so we went for it.
Yeah, they have a real vision for this. I mean, you must have had to get
Not really shared by vision at first.
when people think you're nuts when you first start
Sure,
the place. Yeah. But obviously, the focus is really on the outdoor dining.
Yeah.
And you do a lot of takeout as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, currently because of COVID,
Right.
we are only doing for our dining. We're only doing social bubble dining.
Okay.
Which
Can you
is-
tell me about that?
Yeah. So that is for groups. It actually can be small as 2 people, where I can do a tasting menu for them, all the way up to 24. We have enough tables to do that, but our average size is about 8 to 12.
Okay.
And then what we do is, they have the whole restaurant for the evening or for lunch, and then I personalize the menu.
Oh wow. Okay. So they'll you and you can go back and
Well,
forth.
we actually always have a sit-down meeting. That's also part of the fun.
Oh, cool.
Is we sit down and we kind of just hammer out all the logistics and the menu. So a lot of it's for celebrations that have been postponed.
A lot of birthdays.
Yep. Anniversaries.
Yeah.
We've had a few post-weddings, little ceremonies. So that's been great, and it allows people to kind of with their small gathering or their social bubble, who they feel safe around, allow them to still have that celebration.
Yeah, you must get a lot of joyful moments of people finally being able to kind of celebrate outside of their houses.
Yeah, it's actually been incredibly fun.
Yeah,
for us as well.
Yeah. So let's get into a little bit about your background. I first met you 10 years ago when I first started at Diablo, and you were the new executive chef at Wente restaurant.
Right.
It's no longer a restaurant. It's a
Yeah.
tasting room. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So how did you? And you came from New York.
I came from New York at the time.
Okay, and grew up in Texas.
I grew up in Texas. Came from New York.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And why did you decide to move out to the?
My wife was from out here,
Okay.
and then I think we were just really kind of looking for a new change, and I was looking for a new challenge, and I was really looking to get out of the city, and the Winty project came up, and the fact that I was gonna finally get to like grow my own food, raise my own
garden there,
right? Yeah, we had almost an acre dedicated to the restaurant alone, and then we also like raising our own beef. And to me, that was just that was something that not a lot of chefs get an opportunity at, and I definitely excited about taking on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And your time in New York, you had your own restaurant over there, right?
I did, yeah. The last 3 years there, I had a place in Brooklyn, of Charter Before, which is this is where the lamb pastrami was created. Okay. So yeah, we won quite a few awards with that restaurant, and that restaurant went on after me, and had a couple other multiple restaurants very similar to the concept.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So can you tell me a little bit of the sandwich you're doing? Is kind of your take on a classic pastrami sandwich.
Right.
Was obviously it's a huge comfort food in Jewish delis in New York. Is that kind of where the inspiration came from?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think in my when I started this, it really just came out as I was just curing a lamb, and that the inspiration, like you said, came from those just classic temples in New York.
So it wasn't a sandwich back then.
It wasn't a sandwich. Originally, I mean, the very first one was literally like I was doing a lot of whole animal breaking down at the time, and I was just looking for a different approach to the shoulder. And so what if we cured it like a pastrami? Right. So it literally started out as family meal when I was working for Great Foods, and then it kind of went on from there. And when I opened Charter Before in Brooklyn in 2008, it literally was shelved for like 6 months, and then we just put it on as an appetizer, and it was like I didn't think it was going to be as a big deal at the time, and literally before we even ever opened, a food writer was at one of our just our little opening celebration, and said, that's one of the best bites I've had all year. Wow. And it just kind of went on from there. So it started out as an appetizer. Yeah. And again, that inspiration from the sandwich. And then it hasn't, it almost took 10 years for it to actually become a sandwich. And it was the first time it was a sandwich was here at Southbound. It's come full circle. It's come full circle, correct, yeah.
That's great. So how does the brine work? What goes into making it a pastrami?
So basically, through the years, now we're using leg, which is a lot meatier than the shoulder.
Okay.
Okay. And then, it's just our version of a classic pastrami brine. There's multiple spices in there. And salt, sugar, sodium nitrate. And so basically we take these, we get our leg of lamb from Any Ranch out of Dixon. And then we just debone them. And then we basically, it's a wet brine, so it's a water solution. And then we just put it in that brine for about 7 days. Okay. And then we pull it out, we kind of tie it up, and then we just slow cook it until it hits the proper temperature. And then from there, we just slice it really thin like you would on a deli slicer. Okay, gotcha. So, and then of course, I think a lot of what we're about here at Saltcraft is, the craft part in the name is to really indicate that we always make everything in-house. Yeah. So we do have a bread program. We make all of our own breads here, which we sell outside of the restaurant as well to some of the grocery stores and other restaurants. So this is our coffee rye. Okay, so kind of like the inspiration of the lamb, we started with kind of that 100% utilization, trying to find a new way to take on the lamb. The coffee rye, funny enough, started with, we said, okay, what are we going to do with our leftover coffee? We got to incorporate, we got to use that. This has always been this inspiration of when things are kind of being, left out, or they're the scraps or whatever, what can we do with this? And so that was the point of inspiration for the coffee.
That's amazing. So necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, so that's where the coffee rye started. So
how do you incorporate the coffee into the
So, we start the bread with just a rye starter, sourdough starter, I guess, or natural starter, and then just we just add a little coffee, water,
Okay.
And then we add a little bit of cocoa powder and caraway seed to the bread. And and usually we let it rise. We kind of let it ferment and rise for about a day before we make it.
Right, and rye is an interesting bread, right? It's a little denser, kind of earthier than
right.
bread. Yeah.
And rye, funny enough, it's actually one of the oldest grains, and it can actually weather most climates.
Oh,
so it's it's one of the most diverse grain grown all over the world. Okay. So again, kind of why do we have rye bread with pastrami? And you just kind of go back to it was probably the only thing available to some of these poorer areas of the world.
Interesting. So it's sort of what was available, and often that gets turned into some of the most delicious dishes.
It is, absolutely. I think that is some of the best. That is some of the best inspiration. It's just total necessity.
And I did want to get into that. And obviously, most people probably are not going to make their own pastrami.
Sure.
Or make their own rye bread. But if you actually sell pastrami sandwich kits here at Saltcraft, is that right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. So you can go online and order one. You get all the ingredients. You can make it yourself.
Right. Or you can order the sandwich.
Right. Which is
and the kit is coming back soon. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. And but if you can't get the Saltcraft, I mean, obviously you can just get a rye bread at your local grocery, regular good pastrami.
Yeah, absolutely.
Deli and do that. But,
yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get into the other ingredients. There's not that many ingredients. Let's talk about the secret sauce.
So the secret sauce, right?
And you won't give me the full recipe because it's
I'm not going to give you the full recipe, but once again, your inspiration there is the Russian dressing. Right, that classic. And a Russian dressing is super easy to make at home, guys.
Okay.
You can almost just take equal parts ketchup, mayonnaise, and pickles or cornichons.
Okay.
And just basically put them. You can chop those up, mix it all together. Or a great easy way is if you have a little food blender at home.
Yes.
Or not food blender. I'm sorry, food processor.
Right.
That's a great easy way to make that sauce.
Okay. Great. And any particular Oh yeah, let's get up here. There's the beautiful sauce. And what do you put in here? Can you give me a couple of the ingredients that you put in?
Yeah, so this sauce, we do add our pickling spice, the same spice mix that we use for curing the meat. Okay, there's a little bit of sun-dried tomatoes in there, in ours instead of the ketchup. Okay, and then we put and then again egg, olive oil. Okay, and a little bit of honey to kind of again get that sweetness that we normally get from the ketchup.
Okay, and a little bit of love.
Always a little bit.
And you do your pickled onions here.
Yeah.
As well? Yeah.
And these onions,
they're pretty easy, right?
If you haven't seen the Portlandia where they say we can pickle that, we can pickle anything.
Yeah.
Right. So we have a basic ratio here. We add spices or whatnot, but if you just really want to make a quick pickle at home, we use a 3-to-1 ratio of vinegar to sugar.
Okay.
So 3 parts vinegar, 1 part sugar.
Okay.
Just bring that up to a boil, and then just add whatever vegetable. So that's how we make those onions. We just basically put all that stuff in a pot, bring it up to a simmer, and then we're done.
So very easy little.
Very easy.
Mustn't fuss it.
Yeah, and if you want to add other spices and whatnot, but that's always kind of our basic ratio for our pickles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something people can definitely do at home.
Right. And you can use any kind of vinegar you want too.
Okay.
If you want to do a red wine pickle, those are great with onions.
Yep.
Right. But generally we use a rice wine, a white wine, or like an apple cider.
Apple cider.
Okay.
So it just depends on your taste.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, I did want to point out this is what makes Saltcraft a little bit unique, is you can get sandwiches in a lot of places. Very few places is every single ingredient, including the bread, being made in-house. I'm sure that's something you take pride in.
Absolutely.
And it gives you a little bit of quality control. You can kind of tweak and make sure everything works well together. Okay, and before I get started on making the sandwich, we've got a couple questions. Okay, I missed the intro. This is Saltcraft. This is chef owner Matt Greco, and this is in downtown Pleasanton, a little bit off the main drag, right?
Yep.
And in a beautiful old house that he renovated into a wonderful restaurant. Let's see. Oh, another question about the pie. Yeah, we will get you the pie recipe. Can't find a video. Okay, we'll make sure to send the pie recipe out to everybody in there. We did a pie with
Okay, got it.
from Pastrami. Yeah, you do a pie for us too?
I can do pie. I do pies here as well.
Do you? Okay.
Something I love very dearly.
You do everything. So but just as far as general sandwich tips, I mean, especially with a sandwich with so few ingredients, you just want to make sure you get really good quality, right?
Yeah, so that's the first one, right? And like you said, like I think when we think about sometimes a great sandwich is like there's just lots of stuff in it.
Yes,
and that's great too. Don't get me wrong.
And that's the classic sandwiches in New York. A lot of them are just overstuffed with.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, right. And don't get me wrong, those are great. But you can also be very simplistic at the same time too.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, always try to start with good ingredients, right? Nice bread, nice meat. And, generally we have cheese. This one we don't have cheese on.
Yeah.
You just put those three things together right there, and you're not gonna have a bad time. It's gonna be good.
Right.
But the one tip too, I think, is. And this is where you can go a little bit further about thinking about how to construct a sandwich. It's just really kind of thinking about what ingredients and how they're touching each other, right? So one of the great things someone taught me once, at a New York deli was, the tomato has to touch the mayonnaise, right? Like we love that combination.
Yeah.
And we don't realize that, right? Or if it's the soaking of the vinegar and the bread.
Yes.
Right.
So you don't want everything to sort of be separate. You don't want it to melt.
Right, but also also kind of think about what ingredients is touching the other ingredients, right? And are they going to make something a little bit extra special by touching each other?
Right. Or vice versa, they might make it soggy or something.
Right.
Something else.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So sometimes you want to put a deflector into something in between, sometimes like if we're melting cheese or something, that just like you want that cheese on that bread. Right, but then you got that what's really great is like a nice funky cheese, right? Is a pickle, right? So you want that pickle to be touching that nice melted cheese, like Swiss cheese or Emmentaler or something like that, right?
So you're thinking about some contrast when you're eating.
Absolutely, and that really and it's these little subtle things, and some people say it's just a sandwich, but to me, like food is food, and you should if you want to overthink it, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you're gonna make a sandwich, why not make the best sandwich you can possibly have? Yeah, it's funny you say that because I had a lobster roll the other day in Jack London Square, a great place called Sea Breeze on the Dock.
Okay.
But I'm from New England, so I'm very critical, and I hadn't had a good one in a while, and I realized it was sort of the cold chilled lobster, with just a little bit of mayo, and then contrasted against the warm toasted bun and the crunch of a little celery in there. I mean, you realize okay, this is it's easy, but you can mess it up, if you don't do it properly.
Right, and there are so many great classical French dishes that were based off of that cold against the hot, right? And just that kind of juxtaposition, for that contrast, right? And it can be really bad, right? And or it can be amazing, like you said, it's the cold lobster against the warm bun, and if the bun isn't warm.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. My wife's a better cook than I am. I think that she's more patient, and she thinks about things more. I'm often in a rush and doing stuff, but just sort of thinking and taking a moment to think, okay, what is going to be good? What do I like? What's the best combo here? And sort of, concentrate a little bit on what you're doing, right? Right. Okay, cool. Well, let's get going. So you have pretty thick cuts of the bread.
Right. Yeah. So, we want to, if you want to go thin, that's fine. To be perfectly honest with you, our bread is so fresh, it's really difficult to cut it down. This was just baked this morning. I'm just gonna, and
it's also quite soft. So
it's also quite soft, yeah. And I'm just gonna toast it on the griddle. Now that's a little extra thinking. I'm thinking too, like, do I want oil on this?
Yeah,
sandwich,
butter.
Right? Butter. No, and again, I go back to that classic sandwich, and it doesn't have butter. Right. The classic one, you go to Second Avenue Deli or whatever. It really is just soft rye bread with warm pastrami.
Right. Yeah, totally.
So again, this sandwich too is perfectly fine with some nice soft room temp bread. You don't necessarily have to toast it, and then you don't necessarily have to warm up the meat as well.
Okay.
Okay, we don't warm up the meat here,
Uh-huh.
we keep this a little bit more chilled. The lamb tends to get a little bit stronger when we warm it up.
Okay.
Sometimes we want that, but I think in the sandwich we want it a little bit more mellow.
Uh-huh.
One of the things I love a classic food, but I also love kind of like a fresher, brighter version of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what that is for the lamb pastrami. We serve it chilled.
Yeah.
We're going to serve it with these pickles that are nice and bright. We're also going to serve it with a little bit of, we show this up to the camera, a little bit of cilantro. And you may ask, why cilantro?
Why cilantro?
Great question. And that is because that is actually one of the key spices, or coriander, in your classic pastrami.
Okay.
So generally, you have this pastrami brine,
Yeah.
and it's generally just a brine with they call this pickling spice, which is a multitude of spices. Generally, a little bit more heavy on the dill. I think that's what we recognize as pastrami.
Yeah.
But it's generally coated with equal parts of coriander seed and black pepper seed before it is cooked. Okay. And so again, we kind of just like talking about like wanting to make it a little fresher and brighter. Yeah. Taking that coriander element and just putting it with just some fresh micro cilantro.
Okay, great. Yeah. Kind of Californianizes
Well,
it
that
a
was
little bit.
actually, something we did all the way back in Brooklyn.
Yeah, really?
So I can't take credit for that.
And also with you're not using the butter and the bread, but you will have
The sauce, right?
The sauce,
Yeah.
which will make it sort of moist.
Right.
Give you some of that.
So we can toast it all the way. We can do a light toast. I just got a griddle here. It's at 400 degrees. Okay. Which makes some great toast. Takes a little bit more time, but don't be afraid to pop it in your toaster or you got a toaster oven, that sort of thing. But yeah, so just a little what I like call dry toast.
Okay.
Right?
If you're going to heat up the pastrami, would you just put that in the toaster or an oven or something?
Yeah, there's a couple ways you can do that, right? So if you want to just an easy way, just microwave it. Okay, that's not a horrible way.
Really? Okay.
No, like chefs think no, microwaves are not horrible. Or if you wanted to basically put it on a griddle, put it in a pan, you can get a little bit more color on it, get a little bit more of that sear to it.
Okay. So you can.
And that's going to intensify that pastrami flavor. It's also going to bring out a lot of the salt flavor to it. So if you like a really nice salty,
Interesting. So you can fry it up a little, concentrate a little bit, right? So that's interesting. But you leave it just as is.
Right. Again, we want a little bit more subtle flavor.
I was going to ask you about the lamb. Why the lamb, and how does that kind of differ from it's typically made with beef?
Beef, right? Yeah. So again, like I was going back, it really was kind of let's try something different with this lamb shoulder. And then I think it just to kind of get the balance right, where we kind of wanted to mellow out the lamb flavor.
It's a little
with pastrami. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we didn't want to completely lose it and just taste like a pastrami. You wouldn't be able to identify what meat it was, right? So that just took a little while to kind of get that ratio right. And I think that that's kind of where that started. I think at the time it was really and that's where this whole thing started. And since then we've converted a lot of people who don't like lamb. And I think it's great. I think it's a nice little
because the brine kind of mellows out the lamb.
The brine kind of mellows it out. And what's great about the leg, is that it's really the fat that a lot of people have a hard time with. The fat is a little bit more gamey, a little bit more grassy.
Okay, that's interesting.
Than the meat.
So that's where a lot of the lamb flavor comes from.
Yeah, or I think, to be perfectly honest, I think that's what a lot of people tend to steer away from, right, or deterred from is the flavor of the fat. So the leg is definitely a lot less fat, much more meat.
Okay.
And yeah,
a little more accessible to the typical.
Right. And so.
And is it does the texture is it different from the beef, or does it have that kind of similar?
So that is a really great question too. That really did. Yes, and yes. Mainly because they're two different kind of strands of protein. Yeah. And then also how long you cook it. what temperature you take it to.
Mm-hmm.
When we first started, we treated it almost like a break. So we took it all the way. It was a little bit more crumbly. And then, through the years, we kind of said, oh, let's not try to have it, like, let's change the texture of the deal a bit by cooking it less.
Okay.
All right. So we take it to like 150 degrees now. Okay. So it's still, because we're going to slice it really nice and thin.
Yeah.
So it still has a little bit more, texture to it.
And it holds together a
Yeah,
little bit more.
correct.
Okay. So this is a work in progress. You're always
Absolutely. This is the second sauce we've had with it. The coffee rye was kind of one of the last components that needed to come together for us to make our own sandwiches.
Right. How's the bread looking?
All right, it's looking pretty good.
All right.
Let's just
Get together. Okay, let's see. What would be good to drink with this sandwich? Any recommendations?
Oh yes. So if you're going to say wine, we found that Albarino works really great with the sandwich. And then of course any like beer, but more like on the lighter side, like maybe a Pilsner.
Uh-huh.
Okay, IPAs are really a bit harder to pair with things. I know they're really popular right now. Yeah, but something a little bit, like a wheat beer is also works really well.
Mm-hmm.
That wheat, like that, something like a citrus wheat, right? I think it not just, something in the vein of like the Blue Moon, right? That works really well with that as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of that sauce.
Okay.
And this sandwich is super easy,
Yeah, it's a beautiful color. So both pieces of bread.
Both pieces of bread. Okay.
And you can be as heavy or as light as you want without it.
That's the great thing about this sandwich is it's not super, as much as there's a lot going on, it's not as delicate as you think. So we're just going to take a little bit. So here's our leg of lamb.
Mind if I try a piece of this?
Yeah, please do. And again, this is not your overstuffed pastrami sandwich. This is, again, we're talking about that lamb. It's not necessarily you want a massive amount of it. So there's a lot of flavor in here.
Because it's a little stronger than the
correct. And then we're just going to put the pickled onions right on top. If you have, don't even be afraid to have a little juice.
Oh yeah, good call.
On there.
A nice little tip.
Yeah. And again, if you like a lot like this, what's great about this sandwich again is if you like a lot of pickles, it's still gonna be great. If you like a little, it's gonna be great as well. So we should take a little bit of cilantro.
Really colors, yeah. Great. That's a pretty sandwich. Look at that. Okay. That's great. And you usually cut it in half.
Cut it in half.
Yeah. And let's see, we'll take this time to maybe we can announce the winner of our $100 Visa gift card, courtesy of Xfinity. And the winner is Robin A. Congratulations, Robin. We'll follow up with you by email and get you that gift card. Thanks for watching again, and thanks to Xfinity for sponsoring that. We have the question, what was the green? Those are micro cilantro, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. All right, you gotta hold that up to the camera, I think. It's the money shot.
Where am I? I got it?
A little higher, a little higher. There you go. So you can almost taste that through the camera.
Yeah.
All right, mind if I take a bite?
Please do. That was my next suggestion.
Yeah. Well, luckily with the mask, I can cover up the the secret sauce. Oh my god. Really nice. It tastes like the pastrami. It's a little gamier. And then you get that nice brightness from the pickle. It's beautiful. Well, I might take this home.
Please do. Yeah, please do.
Great. And so let's see. And do you have other sandwiches? How many sandwiches do you have on the menu?
Right now we just have 5. Again, because of COVID, we've kind of we've definitely done a lot of shifting.
Yes.
We use pivoting.
Yeah.
I know that's become
buzzword of the day.
the passe word or whatever you want to say there. But yeah, so definitely we've done a lot of that. So not as big as focus as we used to have. but still great quality, kind of more of our greatest hits. You know, that we do as well.
Great. Are you having any specials for the holidays? Any kind of meal? Like
Yeah, absolutely. So we just got done with our with our Thanksgiving turkey and sides. How that kind of worked out. We had a full list of sides. You kind of build your own Thanksgiving meal.
Okay.
We'll have something very similar for Christmas. You know, with the meats this year will be ribeye and duck.
Oh, okay.
The choice.
Okay.
Right. Again, that build your own Christmas dinner.
Awesome.
Okay.
I'm sure that's appealing to a lot of people these days. People are a little sick of cooking, I think, at this point.
Right, they are. Yeah, and of course you can order that online. You know, again, we are just takeout, and then we also, like I mentioned before, social bubble dining.
Okay.
But everything can be ordered online.
And what's your website?
Our website is www.saltcraftpleasanton.com.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Let's see. One more question. Are you going to be doing New Year's platters?
I have thinking of what I'm going to do for New Year's.
Sounds like you got to take her if you
We're
want.
looking.
And one more question.
Any suggestions? We're definitely.
Yeah, just put it in the chat if you want something. What can you use in place of the cilantro?
Oh, good question. You know, arugula is really good. You know, something a little bit peppery. Again, you know, going back to that black pepper and everything like that. So, yeah.
Okay. Something a little more delicate or something with the rest of the ingredients.
Right. But yeah, again, it has that little pepperiness. Right. It's nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yep. Well, I think that's about it, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for putting this together. It's a delicious sandwich. I encourage everybody to come on down, get some bread, get a sandwich, get some pastrami. Matt sells it all. You'll have the pastrami kits probably a little later.
We'll be having that back up on the line. Yeah. We'll be soon back up to serve. You know, we store all of our own meats in house, and we'll soon be. You'll be able to buy those again through our website. We also have our hot and ready dinner every Monday through Friday. So pay attention to our website. We put up the menu every night, and you can pick up our hot and ready dinner of the day at 5:30 Monday through Friday.
Great. Well, it sounds like you guys are busy here.
Trying to keep busy. For sure.
Well, thanks again, Matt. Thanks everybody for joining us. And yeah, go out and get a support your local small business, support your local restaurant. Thanks for supporting Diablo Magazine. I appreciate your tuning in. And we'll be doing one of these. We're going to skip a week, and it'll be Tuesday, December 15th, and we'll be doing fried chicken with Renee McPherson from Minnie Bell's Soul Movement in Emeryville. You don't want to miss that one. It's a really delicious dish. So thanks again, Matt.
Yep.
And take care, guys.